Hello, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Are You a Fan? If you like the episode, give us a like, share, follow, and stick around to watch this one. Or listen, I suppose. Okay, so question of the week, as always, Joker. If you could be a god, what would you be the god of?
Honestly, probably something, stereotypical like war, thunder, because one of my patrons is Thor. That would probably be where it'd go.
Fair.
That or with the shenanigans, be a trickster god.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. I was going to say, me, probably god of protection, travel, or partying. Considering Coyote kind of fits all those criteria.
So then there's the bright side. If you're a Norse god, you can be all three.
Right?
I mean, heck, there's like 10 Norse gods of war.
Okay, folks, well, that brings us into this week's episode, Atlas. And we're trying a new thing where we talk about the characters beforehand, but I'm going to be honest with you, neither of us knew who this guy was.
I didn't even know that he existed.
Yeah. And so, honestly, we were going to do an episode on the daughters of Atlas that show up in Shazam, but they don't technically exist in the comics, and
he almost doesn't either.
Yep. So let's get into this week's very short episode. Okay, so Atlas, starting out with Real World. The first Golden Age version of the character named Atlas in DC Comics appears in Action Comics issue number 121, June 1948. So a pretty old character with very little screen time or page time. The second appearance of an Atlas was in Action Comics issue number 320, January 1965. The third was in Action Comics issue number 353 in August 1967. So, yeah, like a decently old character.
It really is. He's up there with a lot of the classics. Just didn't really go anywhere.
I mean, I feel like he kind of went the way of like when we did the episode on Polka Dot Man, just that we're throwing things at the wall to see what sticks, and
he didn't stick.
No.
Polka Dot Man stuck better than he did.
Yeah.
Which says a lot.
Oh, man.
If anybody remembers that episode.
Yeah, that is. Oh, wow, yeah.
So Jack Kirby's Atlas was his first and only appearance prior to Superman issue number 677 was in first issue special issue number 1. James Robinson would bring Atlas back in Superman issue 678. So it's still kind of floating around.
Yeah.
Barely.
Also, I do just love how much I love Jack Kirby. First off, the guy seems to have a hand in almost everything.
Oh, yeah.
And not surprising that this is just an obscure god either, and finding out that Jack Kirby had something to do with an obscure god character.
Yeah, it seems to be his forte.
Right? Okay, so Atlas is a superhero and anti-hero appearing in American comic books published by DC Comics. It debuts in first issue special number 1, April 1975, and was created by Jack Kirby. So we're already, I'm not going to lie, I had a tough time trying to piece together, like, there's multiple iterations of this character.
Because it shows that they liked him, but then they kept trying to throw him out there, but he just kept falling.
Yeah, and this feels like one of those characters that they retconned multiple times because they wanted him to work and just never could make him stick.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what seems to have happened here.
Right?
So according to Robinson, Atlas is going to save humanity. Quote, the way I look at him is like in the Marvel Universe, Namor is a hero, but he really skates that fine line between being a hero and villain. But he stays on the side of the hero. Atlas skates the line between hero and villain, but ultimately always falls on the villain's side. End quote. He continued to say that Atlas will become a major player in the Superman mythos moving forward, and there will be some real twist into the character. That was apparently the plan.
I mean, I feel like we've had a few. I feel like when we did the Eternals, this is a very similar thing, where they're like, we have a plan for this whole twist and backstory.
Heck, I think theirs even ended up with a better ending.
Right? and typing, and it's gone.
Yep.
Okay, so one of the early characters named Atlas reappears in Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman, where a version of Atlas appears in issue number 3. This Atlas is more closely based on the mythological figure of Atlas and competes with Superman and Samson to win Lois Lane, similar to the story in Action Comics issue number 320 from January 1965. So kind of rehashing a story. Like, man, they were really trying to bring this guy back.
They really were. I do like, though, that Grant Morrison kind of brought him as a version of the mythological version.
That, I do enjoy that. I like when they take real, because we have basically real world pantheons. I like when they take those and kind of incorporate them.
Oh, I mean, come on. You have an entire family and comic series based on the Norse gods.
True.
Clearly it works. I mean, heck, you have Heracles in the comics. Like, there are so many historical figures that have made it and succeeded. Makes you almost wonder if they based him on the historical figure first, if he would have stuck around a little better.
That would have been awesome, actually. Oh, that's a little disappointing. So, yep, that's all I could find really on Real World. So, like we said, this is short character. Also, now I'm starting to feel like, wow, this was a real odd pick for Shazam to deal with, like the daughters of this guy.
Really was.
Especially when they're just like, but at the same time, I guess smart move. They're like, we can just make up characters so that way the fans don't get mad.
Honestly, it's probably the best way to go, especially with the way DC movies have gone lately.
Yeah. In universe, go.
The Jack Kirby's Atlas family and people were slain by the raiders of Hysa?
Hissa?
Not really sure. We're going to go with Hissa. Hissa the Lizard King. Atlas was raised by a wise and mysterious traveler named Sharga? We're going to go with Sharga?
Shagra?
Yeah, we're going to go with that. So because of an alien crystal carried by Atlas, Shagra theorized that Atlas was one of the people of the Crystal Mountain. Seems very kind of just random.
Yeah. It really seems like they were just really trying to toss together this character's backstory.
Clearly.
At this point. They're like, I don't know, his family was wiped out by lizard people, and
honestly, I think that's got to be one of the weirdest parts, right next to the Crystal Mountain thing.
Right? And he's from... I just imagine the guy pitching this to them and just looking behind at different comic book covers and like straight up Catch Me If You Can, this character.
That's got to be what happened. I can't imagine anything else.
Right? Okay, so Chagra agrees to help Atlas achieve his revenge, but only if Atlas leads him to the Crystal Mountain. Atlas grew up to become a protector of the innocent, but once King Hissa was defeated, his petulance and darker nature came to the forefront. Which, I get it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you got to have the dark nature come out somewhere.
Yeah, just... It feels like that should have been sooner with the whole massacre of his people.
You would think, but I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the king.
Yeah, maybe it's that whole they killed once they made the kill and that's what there was no going back type thing, kind of like Batman's whole thing.
It's Batman all over again.
Yeah, this was just like the version of Batman that actually took out the Joker.
Yeah. So Atlas would return in Superman issue 677 as part of the Coming of Atlas storyline. His origins is retold in issue 678. Where he is seen saving citizens of Metropolis he himself had endangered. I mean, at least he's trying to save people he put in danger.
Right.
But if you didn't put him in danger, you wouldn't have to save him.
Oh, man, I feel like we've done a character like that.
Pretty sure we have.
I feel like this character is a mashup of every character we've done so far.
In some form of way, I think so.
Yeah, just a poor mashup. Wow. Oh, man. This is sad. He is currently working with a secret government project that intended to kill Superman. Atlas wants to defeat Superman and replace him as Metropolis's champion on his way to conquer the modern world. So, wow.
I feel like at least that part of his story seems to be the most well-written, thought out.
Yeah, kind of. But still,
compared to the rest of it.
Okay, yeah,
it's a lot better thought out.
Honestly, but like now I'm like, man, I almost feel like we should have done an episode of Lex Luthor in the past to fit this one.
Yeah.
Because that's some Lex Luthor mentality right there.
I'm definitely not disagreeing on that.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of the story so far.
Oh, completely the most thought out at this point.
So he fights the science police and Superman. He holds the upper hand on Superman for most of their battle, but is interfered with by his dog Krypto, who seems to be powered by magic.
It gets real wonky here, folks.
It really does.
And not a lot. Like, I would have had to go into multiple other sources. I would have had to go into a whole crypto thing to find out where this magic thing is coming. But we're dealing with a god, so, you know. So Atlas eventually defeats Krypto and prepares to kill him, only for Superman to re-enter the fight and defeat him with some magic enhancements from Zachary Zatara. Superman with the chair!
That's what it feels like entirely. There's some WWE storyline going on here.
I was going to say, that reads like a WWE like main event. Oh, man, they were just doing whatever with this guy.
Yeah, they really were. So Atlas's return and fight with Superman was described as part of a ruse intended to test Project 7734, which was a governmental project that utilizes magic in an effort to kill Superman, who is vulnerable to magic. Atlas continues to work for this project. Yeah, I thought about that. I was like, wait, Superman using something he's vulnerable against is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Kind of cool, but kind of weird.
Which I did find out at some point. I guess it's explained in the comics that Superman's not necessarily weak to magic. He's just not resistant like he is everything else.
Makes him vulnerable.
Which, yeah, because that was the argument everybody brought up. They're like, well, he's not weak. He's not resistant. I'm like, well, then that's a weakness.
Yeah, that's kind of what that means.
Right?
Especially when you're Superman.
Exactly. So Atlas is later kidnapped and brainwashed into fighting the Justice League by an unknown party. After being defeated by the team, Atlas explains to Batman that he has no idea who captured him in the first place.
Probably, goes into the brainwashing.
Yeah.
He's going to brainwash that away.
I was going to say, kind of that'd be bad brainwashing if you...
Right, if you left that there.
Right?
Like, probably shouldn't have.
And as far as I could tell with the research, that's kind of it.
Yeah, there was very little to this man.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't think there's a continuation of this story, so, like, with him in it to explain this.
Yeah, no, it seemed like his last comic was in the 70s.
So, yeah, folks, there's the father of the villains of the Shazam 2 movie.
Gotta love it.
Yep. Now going into powers and abilities. So, powers and abilities. He's magic. He possesses immortality, superhuman durability, superhuman stamina, superhuman strength. Atlas's strength is so great that he can fight toe-to-toe against the Man of Steel, which at this point I feel like isn't really that big of a feat in the comics.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Oh. It might have been more when he was first created, back in the 60s and the 40s.
Actually, that's a valid point, yeah.
So at the time, it might have been more of a feat, but yeah, nowadays, that's just,
Yeah, there's multiple
characters. Common as heck.
Right? So he's also advanced in hand-to-hand combat. Being alive for that long and going through that many fights, I imagine you would have to at least have some kind of hand-to-hand fighting skills.
One would hope.
He also wears a pendant, which is the source of his power, the Golden Helmet of Champions, which symbolizes his victory in the gladiatorial arena, and that's kind of it.
It's just a real basic version of Superman, really.
Yeah, ultimately, I get why they wanted to try to push this character, but I also get why it kept failing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I feel like if they had really thought it out more on his powers, his abilities, his story, it might have stuck.
Yeah.
But clearly they failed that miserably.
They did. Okay, take us away into the media. What, if there is any?
Surprisingly, there is two.
Ooh.
Kind of.
Ooh.
So in film, he appears in the All-Star Superman, voiced by Steve Blum. Or
Okay.
Blum. Not sure how to pronounce your name. Sorry, Steve. In TV, there was a character based on Atlas that appeared in an episode of Teen Titans, voiced by Keith David.
Oh.
Which, when that man voices anybody, you never trust him.
Yeah.
Ever.
No.
Yeah, that is it.
Well, I'm not going to lie. That was more than I thought there would be.
Same. I was expecting nothing.
Yeah. I was expecting maybe a mention of the Daughters of Atlas because of the Shazam movie, but that would have been surprising too. Because from what I can tell of the previews, he himself does not show up.
You know, from what I understand of the synopsis, it's just them.
Yep. Which, so I guess I'll ask the question I ask all the time. You a fan, Joker?
Of the concept, if they would stick with the, like what they started at the end, where it's the version of the mythological character, a little bit. I guess, yeah, I'm a fan of the idea of him, the concept, but definitely not the follow through.
And I'm completely on board with that. I like the concept sound like it sounded like if they could have stuck with something and gone through with it, it would have been awesome. But ultimately it kept failing, and he just doesn't seem like there's anything really
Happening.
Yeah, so I'm not really a fan of the character. So, yeah. For anyone that's still listening, if you got something out of this, enjoyed the episode, or even liked the character before from a movie, comic, cartoon, hell, even that t-shirt that you saw one time, you're a fan too. If you want to jump on this train, why not subscribe and share with a friend? d-rael out. Y'all keep riding them rails.